What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a reaction to Max Q and their self-titled album, brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter and patron who is back, my man from down under, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. If you want to support us in any way, check out that Patreon link below, the patron link on the end screen. Couldn't do it without him. And Jim has brought me John Farnham, Jimmy Barnes, like all kinds of great stuff. Jim is the one responsible for that, but I've never heard of Max Q. Now, Jim says it's one of his favorite albums. And he says their collaboration between Ollie Olsen, an Australian underground music legend, and of course, Michael Hutchence from INXS. This album, released in 1989, the year I graduated from high school, is what first introduced me to Ollie. Then later in the 90s, he was a favorite producer / DJ in the Melbourne underground electronic scene. He has been a cult legend in Melbourne since the 70s, and right up to his sad passing last month on October 16th of 2024 when I'm filming this. Michael met Ollie on the set of the movie Dogs in Space. Michael was in a starring role, and Ollie the musical director and cast member. Michael sung one of Ollie's songs, Rooms for the Memory, in the film, and they hit it off on the set. And it was a couple years later they actually made this album. Now, that movie, Dogs in Space, was directed by Richard Lowenstein, who had a long association with INXS and was responsible for many of the band's videos, as well as a documentary, Mystify, about Michael's life after his passing. The project was a benefit to both Ollie and Michael. They once joked in an interview in New York that the project gave Michael some street cred and Ollie some food. You got to eat, man. It's hard sometimes in the music world. Jim says, I was surprised to learn at the time that Ollie wrote and arranged all the songs. Sometimes in Way of the World could have been in INXS songs. Now, I saw that Michael's credited as a writer on here too, so take that for what it's worth. There's not a lot of information about this album out there. Sometimes is a great song and one that sounds very INXS with its funky driving beat. The quieter verses and explosive chorus and video may have been an influence for the INXS hit Suicide Blonde. Way of the World, another song that could have been an INXS release with a message just as relevant in today's world. The chorus and message reminds me of INXS's Dancing on the Jetty. That is where the INXS comparison ends. The rest of the songs we get to hear Michael exploring different vocal styles and vibes. I love them all, though Concrete and Monday Night by Satellite and Ot Ven Rot are standouts for me. Ollie was a talented singer and musician in his own right. I guess Michael gave his songs a bigger audience and a nuanced, more finished feel. Michael got the chance to be edgier than with INXS. The result is, in my opinion, brilliant, and the Max Q album has to be one of the best albums no one has ever heard of. Of course, it does have a cult following, and fans have been eagerly waiting for a re-release and Spotify release, but sadly that may have ended with Ollie's passing. Michael and Ollie had intended a follow-up album, but that never happened. It's amazing we even got this offering, with Chris Murphy doing everything he could to stop it going ahead and made it impossible to tour it. So that was Jim's write-up. I didn't find a lot. I just found that the album was certified in gold in Australia and was the 93rd highest selling album of 1989 in Australia. I mean, that's not bad. It was not successful in other countries. It's no longer in print and has never been reissued. The band never performed any live shows, as Jim talked about. In 2019, INXS's manager, Chris Murphy, who Jim just referenced, said he would love to reissue the Max Q album, but that legal issues were not yet resolved. Well, the project was named after Ollie Olsen's dog, Max. Max Q is also an aerospace term referring to the point at which the dynamic pressure on a launch vehicle is greatest. Consequently, there's another band called Max Q, which consists of astronauts assigned to the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Probably not as popular as this Max Q. Before the release of the album, the Australian master tapes were taken to New York City to be given a further polishing in the mix department by genius musical innovator Todd Terry from Chicago, a famous DJ who was one of the founding fathers of house music. Terry worked on the album and the remixes. Michael and Ollie accompanied the movement of the music to New York City, and rooming together on the Upper West Side of town, finished the record and set plans and strategies into place for its release, promo, and publicity. Michael described the album's creation in an interview, quote, "It was really fast, it was just enthusiasm. It was let's do this, and Olsen wanted to make the new Thriller, and I wanted to make something a bit more left, So these two strange ideas got together. With Max Q, we didn't really know what monster we were making. You know what I mean? We were just going to see what happened by the end. See, with INXS, it's a little bit more worked out than that. And later on, he also gave his perspective on the Max Q musicians that were with him. Ollie isn't supposed to hang around with pop stars, and I'm not supposed to hang around with punk types. The band is made up of rowdy friends from Melbourne. These guys are good musicians who've never had a chance. Most of them have never even been in a studio. They are real underground people who don't have any money. Some of them have never been on a plane before. They were worried that working with me, they'd lose their underground status. Now, I did find, contrary to what he said, they'd all worked in the studio before, but I mean, they were almost all poor. All right, that's all I got. I don't got anything on any of the songs besides what Jim mentioned on a couple of the songs. The music will not be in this video, but it'll be at a Vimeo link below, so click on that and follow along with this. I have to play it off YouTube because it's not on Spotify or anywhere else. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Jim. All right, Sometimes. Great introduction to Max Q. This is one of the songs that Jim said sounded like an INXS. I would have definitely thought this was an INXS song. So a really good, smart way to start the album out, because yes, they're going to go a different direction apparently, but also you want to bring in the INXS fans. That's a good thing, right? Because they were so popular and so good. So great way to start the album. Next up, we got Way of the World. Okay, that song was freaking brilliant. That song was fantastic, man. Love the sound. Love Michael's emotion in it. I mean, the first verse, you're born into this world looking down the barrel of a gun, and those who hold the gun want you to work fast and die young. And if you don't work, if you don't obey, they'll make you live in fear till your dying day. Those who govern hold the gun to your head with religions, corporations, proud of blood they've shed, and just goes on from there. But, I mean, he's on that first verse, and you get a little bit of, relief on there a little bit. The sound gets more melodic. It's a fantastic song. And this is the other one that Jim said could have been an INXS song, but this song was great. Next up, we have Ghost of the Year. Ghost of the Year. I mean, a song just kind of about Michael's disconnect. Like, he's not really who people think they are, I think is what I get out of this. But, he's going to hang around, but he's not really there. He's kind of checked out. I thought the instrumentation was great. I mean, we're going clubbing a little bit. You had some drum machines and some different percussion in there. Yeah, I just thought it really worked. Now you wanna crown it. It really sticks in the head. So good song. It's not as good as Sometimes or Way of the World, but those songs are fantastic. So let's go to Everything. All right, Everything. We had all kinds of things. I mean, it sounded like female backing on there. It's not credit anywhere, so maybe it isn't. But funkiness to that. But then great guitar work halfway through. Definitely has a different arrangement to it than what you would expect. Obviously, it's way off from an INXS. Well, not way off, but from an INXS offering. But yeah, I enjoyed that too. I mean, these songs are fantastic and really earworms right now. Next up, we have Concrete. But then I can see here, they only have a 1.5 minute long song 020, which is just an instrumental. So I'm going to let both of those run. I'll put down below and I'll tell you when 020 starts. I mean, you're going to figure out it's an instrumental, right? But we'll just roll those together. Okay, 020, we'll go backwards. That definitely had words in it. It was just kind of distorted, but it's an interesting little jam. And then Concrete was fantastic. Besides Way of the World, probably the best songwriter, and it really paints a picture. I'm sitting in a bar staring at the universe that's in my drink, the motion of my straw is stirring anti-clockwise in the glass. I recall the moments well, and I raised my glass to you. You held me in your arms and saved me from despair. And as I'm older and more stupid, the years have etched stupidity into my skull. I condemn my foolishness and I raise my glass to you. Yeah, the world is packed with murderers and madmen. They promise us a slow death. We just go on with that, but he's still fascinated, right? Fascination won't change my mind, and that's how it ends. You can say what you want. Fascination won't change your mind. So I don't know exactly what he's getting at, but it's a fantastic song. And next up, we have Soul Engine. All right, Soul Engine. It's talking about, like, you can have all this rich stuff, you can have all these fancy things, but really it doesn't change who you are. So we were talking while driving at night, talking about freedom in golden cages. Illusions, some call them dreams. Someone said, do the words make a difference? She said, never underestimate your soul. We took to the highway in a car full of dreams. Then the chorus, you bought your freedom in golden cages. Some people call dreams. You bought your freedom in golden cages. Some people call dreams. If you strip everything away, what are you left with? You're left with nothing. Your hats and your furs and your diamond rings don't mean a thing. And those chains you got around your neck, they're just pulling you down. So that success and money is taking you away from who you truly are. Nice funk beat to this thing. Super enjoyed it. Next up, we got Buckethead. These songs are fast, man. I mean, they're not short songs, but they just seem like it's just so catchy. The instrumentation and arrangement's fantastic. I don't really know what this song's about. I mean, I read the lyrics like 3 times as it was going on, but it's pleasing to the ear. We got 3 songs left. We got Monday Night by Satellite, and I'm filming this on a Monday night. it was meant to be. Monday Night by Satellite, short on lyrics. I mean, Michael's bonded to this person. They're close. Some people think they're brats, but they're close and enjoy what they're doing. The instrumentation was more precise, so I can see why Jim had mentioned in the beginning this is one of his favorites on here. All right, we got 2 songs left. Let's go to Tight. I like the way the chorus kind of went between the different voices and kind of singing, layering on top of each other. It's that funky beat again, man, and instrumentation was good. Might be my least favorite song in here. I don't know. And I mean, that's saying something because it's still a really good song. All right, we got 1 song left. Ot Ven Rot. I think I'm saying that right. It's an odd way to put a word together. I'm sure purposefully when I look at the lyrics on it, I will probably get that. And this is also one of the songs that Jim mentioned that he really enjoyed at the start. All right, Ot Ven Rot. A good way to book in this album, right? It starts out with Sometimes, which could have been an INXS track, as Jim shared and as I agreed with. And this is not in that realm, not in a bad way. More grand on the instrumentation as it grew simpler, but then more grand as we get strings and different mixings in there at the end. And Michael's voice on this song and in every song is just so well done. And now we're going to get to my favorite tracks. And the favorite tracks are interesting because I don't have a lot of them, even though I like every track on here because it's so consistent. So my honorable mention is going to be Concrete. My faves is going to give, I mean, you probably know what they are, Sometimes. And then my favorite song on here, Way of the World. Just a fantastic song, both arrangement-wise, musically, but also lyrically. Now we'll get to my overall score. This album is so, so good. I am so glad Jim brought it to the channel. I hope people outside of Australia and people inside of Australia discover it or rediscover it. But it's so consistent. There's not a bad track on here. I'm going to be at a sky-high 8.5 on first listen. And I'm sure if I spin this album a lot, which is not convenient, by the way. Come on, man. Let's get this thing on Spotify. If I was to spin this consistently, I'm sure some of the songs would rise up and become faves as well. But when it's so consistent, sometimes it's hard to pick a ton of faves. But great step. So let me know what you think of this down below. I'm telling you, man, Michael was a transcendent talent. And he kind of got lost, at least on this side of the world where I live in the United States, just because the 80s were it was such a dominating era for like personalities in the music world. You know, obviously you had MJ, Prince, Springsteen, you have Madonna, you have all these huge, you had Wham and then George Michael in there. You had all these huge personalities and Michael kind of got, I guess, forgotten, even though they had good success here. In that, like, there's not many more charismatic frontmen. I have, just type INXS up there. I've done some INXS things, and I got a live performance in there that you'll just see, like, the guy just oozes charisma, man, in a way that you cannot teach. So go check that out. Thanks again to Jim, and until next time, guys, I will see you.